This is the first episode, and I'm a little nervous. I don't know. I've just been trying to make this for, golly, it seems like almost 2 years. I've been thinking about this channel. I've built up lights, and I kind of geared my whole desk for the set, and although it really is my desk, I've just been working towards this goal. So this is the first episode of Man vs. Knitting, and my name is Charles Clark, and I called it Man vs. Knitting because there are so many YouTube videos and books and Facebook groups and magazines and local yarn shops, yarn shows, yarn and pattern designers, all geared towards knitting, but from a female perspective. The choices that are out there for most knitters are more feminine based, and I just feel like there should be more of a male presence in that regard. That kind of goes in hand with my own desk. You'll see the library around me, and a lot of it is filled with knitting pattern books, regular pattern books, lots of stuff. And what I love about it is that I can keep everything here by section. So there's references. I'm trying to think what these are. That's just more general knitting, knitting fiction-y stuff, bigger books. These aren't even books. It's my best friend Chris's sculptures. Reference books, most of Elizabeth Zimmerman stuff. There's crochet and animals, kids, socks, general stuff, and then a bunch of pattern books. There's 2 below there. But the point I'm trying to make is that most of it is geared towards women. Only this section here is geared towards guys, meaning that it's men's designs and some of them by men. So that's why I called it Man vs. Knitting. This should be much bigger. This should be 2 to 3 shelves easily, in my opinion. And that's the goal of this channel. The goal of the channel is, as Man vs. Knitting, is to celebrate and promote the males that are already in the yarn and knitting industries. There's another reason though, and that is my goal is to inspire and to teach more guys to knit. That's my goal, and it's what I've been striving to do. I've been, again, my name is Charles Clark. This is my desk, as I've said, but I'm in Houston, Texas. This is in my home, and I am looking forward to bringing you an episode probably every 2 weeks-ish. That's my goal. But more about that later. What I am is a knitter. I don't crochet much. I know how, but I like to knit. And I've been doing it since 2001, so almost 20 years, 17, 18 years, which I think is a good amount of time. I've been really lucky in my life, and 2008 I was invited by a famous knitter. Her name is Kat Bordy, and she had a vision to also increase the number of guys in the publishing area regarding knitting, and I was so charged by that and I think she saw that, so she invited me along with some other pretty big names like Franklin Habit, Harry Wells, Michael DeVecchio, Alistair Post-Quinn, Sean Riley, Stephen West. We all were there, and it was a magical time. Oh wait, that wasn't 2008, that was 2010. Sorry. And I enjoyed that immensely. The fellowship we experienced, the ability to run ideas off of each other. There was just something about a bunch of guys getting together that just made it really special. And I created Houston's first all-male knitting group. Well, it wasn't all-male. It was called Gents and Pearls, like guys and girls. And the idea was that the women that supported us as well could be a part of our group. So we had probably 4 or 5 women, and at one time we had up to 17 guys. Houston's the 3rd largest metroplex in the United States, and for Houston to only have 17 guys, that's not a lot, but it was a lot. And it was a really good time while it happened. The yarn shop closed. We had to move to a different yarn shop. That yarn shop closed. So right now, there's not a consistent men's knitting group that meets. But who knows, that might change soon. Also in 2011, there was a men's knitting retreat. We'll talk more about men's knitting retreats in future episodes. But there was a men's knitting retreat, and I won the SCSL scholarship to go to that retreat. And based, I think, on an essay that I had written. But that was a lot of fun, too. There was probably easily 22, 23 guys that went, and that was an amazing time. And we'll talk more about the SCSL company at a later time, based on their support of the retreats. So that's just a little bit about me and what I'm doing. I'm currently going for my master's knitting program. Through the master's knitting program, I'm working towards level 1. That's all done through the Knitting Guild Association of America. I just felt it was time, and so part of what I'm going to be doing is sharing some of my updates in that process. I think that's important for a new knitter to see what somebody else can do. And so that's what I want to share with you guys. I have a little bit of notes. So there's also a Facebook group that I created, Men Who Knit or Crochet by Hand. It's an all-male group that I created. It was in response to machine knitting post that was put in a Men Who Knit group on Facebook. And I said, well, you know what? Machine knitting isn't necessarily hand knitting, and you can produce a machine knit thing much faster than a hand knit thing. So since I knit slowly, I was like, you can't put 5 things out there, you know, that you did in this week, and I'm still working on the same hat. I just didn't agree with that, but a lot of people didn't agree with me. So I went out and started my own group, and I think I'm doing something right. We're over 500 members strong, and it's a really neat place for new people, experienced people to go to get advice, pattern interpretation, show off the stuff that they've done. It's been a really neat place for that to happen, and it was sort of my foray into what this could be. I want this to be a community as well, one where guys can show off what they do. Now, if they have questions, you can send those questions to me. There's a little bit of an infrastructure I've built around this channel for that purpose. But I kind of want to talk about what each episode is going to look like. And I've thought so long and so hard about this that I felt I needed to explain it, at least in the first video, so you guys could understand a little bit about what it is I'm trying to accomplish. So the defined sections are going to be just that. Each one will be clearly defined. And at the very beginning of each episode, there's going to be a graphic on the screen that will have a timeline of when each section is. I'll also have the timeline in the show notes that will go underneath the video. But the purpose of that is because I value your time. I don't want you to waste your time. And if there's something that you want to get to or skip past, I'm going to give you the tools to do that. So the timestamps are in. I just think that's important. Secondly, there's going to be a very low acronym development, meaning that I'm not going to talk at any point in a way that would confuse a new knitter or require them to go Google a term or acronym. I'm going to talk plainly, simply, because I want to appeal to the brand new guy who thinks knitting might be an option as a hobby. Because until we make this section bigger, I don't think guys are going to think of knitting as a viable hobby. Until there's better representation in the industry, I don't think guys are going to think knitting is a viable hobby. But it is. I've been doing it for a long time, and I really, really enjoy it. So I hope you do too after you go through this journey with me. So the sections, I have notes, a little bit of notes. The sections are going to be, the first one's going to be history. So like his story. What I want to do there is focus on the men that are already in the industry, or designers that are already there. We're going to do that in a variety of ways. We can do interviews, so the interviews can be in the studio. I also want to, and I've already planned on, a couple of site visits, which will be great. But the purpose of this is to celebrate the men in the industry, because there's a lot of them. There's a company called Buffalo Wool Company. Ron and Teresa Miskin run it. They do a great job. The two of them as a pair will make sure they're at the most yarn shows around the country to represent themselves. But Ron is really the face of Buffalo Wool. He puts himself out there. He makes it happen, and he does a great job of it. And if you don't know what Buffalo wool is, later on we're going to talk about the different type of fibers. But yes, you can get wool from buffalo, and it's amazing. So with that said, there's also another company called Dyak Craft. They make Dyak needles, and Dyak needles are amazing. And the persons that run that company are Tom and Linda. Tom does all of the designing and makes all of the needles and hooks. Linda is more the face of the company. So she's the one promoting, she's the one putting it out there. We have two different kind of males, but in the same industry. One's very out there, one's in the background. I want to celebrate both kind of guys. I want to talk about the guy that may be part of a team, maybe running on his own, maybe the underdog in his industry. I want to bring those up to the forefront, because there's really, while I say there's a lot, there's not really that many. And to me, if there's a guy out there that is thinking about knitting being a viable hobby or maybe a career path, I think that's great. But until you have better representation, meaning a true understanding of what it is out there, I'm hoping I can bring that to you, and I'm thinking that's going to make your decision a little bit easier. The second section is going to be sort of my story. I'm known as NIT Texan, KNITEXAN. I came up with it, I don't know, 10 years ago. It's a funny little thing, NIT Texan. There's nittexan.com. I'm NIT Texan on Ravelry, Instagram, a bunch of, I think on, Twitter. I've kind of used that moniker everywhere. But Man vs. Knitting is going to have its own thing, and it has its own website, which we'll get to. It has its own channel, because this is where I think me as NIT Texan can bring the knowledge and the experience to you. At least that's my hope anyway. And so in the time of the NIT Texan time, we'll talk about things that I'm knitting on, although I've already said I knit slowly, and I'm not lying. So there'll be certain things. One of the things that I want to bring during this time is there's an acronym called UFO, which stands for Unfinished Object. Unfinished objects can be the bane of a knitter, and it's not my bane, but it's something that I do have a lot of, because life happens, and so you put something aside and you go away from it. Well, you come back to it, and for a variety of reasons you don't restart it. And that's one of the things that I'm going to do here, is kind of break that mold and start finishing all of my UFOs. I'm going to make a UFO, an unfinished object, into a WIP, which is a work in progress. Okay, so these are two acronyms that are pretty common in the knitting vernacular. If you're experienced, you already know this, but I'm not talking to the experienced person. I'm talking to the person that doesn't know anything. So, obviously, not everybody learns the same, so experienced people can come here and maybe they'll learn something new. But my goal is to talk to the person that hasn't knit anything in their life but thinks this might be an option. I'm going to give you all the information. We'll also have updates on my master knitting program, and any other general information that I feel I need to give you. That'll be during that time. The next section is called website. There's a lot of information on the internet, and while a knitter might know what they're doing, they have certain websites that they go to. As you grow, there are other tools that you can use on the web, and I've been building those over the years, and I want to share them with you in this section. So website is going to be all about accessing the internet in a way that can benefit your knitting. Okay. The next section is going to be LYS. LYS stands for local yarn shop, typically in the knitting vernacular. But in this instance, it's going to be local yarn shows. My idea is that I can promote local yarn shows that might be in your area. My thought process is, if I tell you about a local yarn show that's coming up, and they'll always be, as I air an episode, they'll be the ones that are happening in the weeks after that episode. But if I do that, then I'm giving you the tools by which, if you want to go to a yarn show and see what that's about, there's vendor halls, there's classes, there's a lot of stuff going on. You might actually like that. And so my idea is to showcase the local yarn shows. They may not be local to me, but they may be local to you, in this section. Okay? So think of all of that as inspiration. That's the inspiration portion of each episode. The back half, and it may not even be half, it may be a third, is going to be what I call the knitting clinic. This is where I'm going to be sharing all of my knitting knowledge with you. My goal is to lay it all out, start from the beginning, go to the end, and get you knitting. My purpose is to teach you in a way I don't know that you're being taught or could be taught somewhere else. I'm not so vain to think that I'm that unique, but I've been teaching for a while, and my goal is to knit alongside you so that as I give you something to do, you can consider it homework if you want, but as I give you something to do, I'm also going to be doing it so that I can show you what it's supposed to look like. I can also give you tips and tricks to use. So I'm going to make sure that when I give you a technique, or if I give you a stitch or a project, that you have the tools by which to fix those mistakes, because you're going to make them. You're a beginner. That's going to happen. My goal is to make sure that you're best equipped for when it happens. So that is going to be part of Knitting Clinic. I'm also going to have a separate instruction video. So Knitting Clinic is going to be a lot of the discussion around what's happening, and then there will be at the very end a card, a little link here, that will give you the actual video for the instruction of what we're doing. I think separating those two is good, because then that way there will always be a corresponding instruction video for a corresponding Man vs. Knitting episode. That is going to be key, I think, in reducing the amount of time that a Man vs. Knitting video is. So, what do you think? It's different, and it's what I've been planning, and it's what I'm doing, and my commitment to you is, I don't know, like I said, maybe every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're going to start with that format that I described in the very first episode. This is, like, I guess, the first episode, but the first episode. I just wanted to get some of the explanation out early so that you guys would understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. That to me is important. I'm not trying to alienate anybody. I'm just trying to improve somebody else's chances, and that's where I'm coming from. I hope you like this. I hope you subscribe so you can get updates on new videos. I hope you visit again, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me, to watch this. There wasn't a lot to watch, but at least this is my very first foray into this medium, and I look forward to spending time with you and teaching you how to knit. Thank you. Bye now.